Welcome to the Surrogacy Scoop, a podcast brought to you by Patriot Conceptions, where we demystify the world of surrogacy from the clinical, family, and surrogate perspective. I'm your host, CJ, and today I have the honor of talking to Haotian Bai, founder and CEO of Patriot Conceptions, veteran of the U.S. Army, and veteran fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, CJ. Aloha.
Great. So you have a very unique journey. You have a very unique perspective on the surrogacy industry. So as far back as you want to go, share to us your journey from the U.S. Army into your role now at Patriot.
Sure. So I was, actually the original story. The story of origins are very important to me, something I hold dear and near to my heart. That's the reason why I started Patriot Conceptions. Dated back when I was in the Army, I met with someone, a chemical operations specialist, or we have a special term, CBRN, chemical, biological, nuclear, and radiological. We had someone that had someone very close to me, one of my best friends, and we were stationed in Hawaii. This is one day, he gone missing. That lasted about a month. Nobody can find him. And we have a term called AWOL. Why AWOL? Might get in trouble, about to get court-martialed. And everybody tried to get in touch with him, and all of a sudden he showed up. He answered my call. It was a long silence. Then he started to tell us what happened. And he started to talking to be like, "Hey, Bai, I couldn't talk to you because I had a twins." I was about to say congratulations, but then they passed away after 2 weeks. And of course, that's a very devastating news. Nobody gonna have a newborn baby, and not to mention twins. Then quickly afterward passed away. I was like, what happened? What happened? Everybody's wondering the same thing. And he's like, he started to say, talk to us. I didn't want to share this with everybody because I feel certain amount of shame. I didn't want everybody to know that my wife and I struggle from infertility issues for years. And the TRICARE, the Department of Defense insurance policy doesn't cover IVF treatment or IUI. They let you jump hooks. Fortunately, in Hawaii, even though the insurance doesn't cover it, they have military fertility doctors in training. So at Tripler Medical Center, we got the opportunity, but for us to comply with the rule, we need to try naturally for a year. Then we got to do IUI, intrauterine insemination. Then they give us 2 rounds of IVF. So we did all that, frustrated. My wife's, we're both very stressed out, but we didn't want everybody to know. We just soldiered on. But then, then he started to tell my wife's eggs not, they're not as good, and that we couldn't go through the genetic testing for our embryos to make sure it's genetically normal and all. We rolled the dice. We want to take a risk. So we did the embryo. It stuck. We feel ecstatic afterwards. But then the ultimate unfortunate things happened. That it was genetically abnormal, and even though it survived the whole pregnancy, we thought we have healthy twins, but no, it didn't work out for us. It's very devastating, very sad news, and it's so shocking. It got everybody to wonder what is in vitro fertilization and what is genetic testing, and just overall the fertility world. And that was the origin. I was started to investigate in vitro fertilization and what could be a possible option. Had healthy twins, what option does he have to make a healthy babies? That's when I come across the concept of egg donation if woman's egg quality is not good enough, or surrogacy when you don't have. We in our business we had patients who didn't have an ovary, who didn't have a uterus because they lost that to cancer. So that was the origin. Then came across quite a few women, military spouses in the Army too, that they are actual surrogates. Because you wonder, why? That's a real person, and I have a story that really hold dear to my heart. I feel like this is something I wanted to do. And then of course there's a business side of it, how you do research and make sure you find product market fit. And then you decided I want to jump the gun now, and this is something I want to do. So after transitioning out of active duty, I decided this is something I really wanted to do, and went to Irvine, California, and that's how the business is born.
There's so much empathy, right, that comes from that story. And I think that's something throughout the whole company, is that to really be in this industry, you do have to have an extremely large amount of empathy, and you have to be able to meet people where they're at. That seems to be a through line to a lot of these conversations I've had.
Absolutely. You got to be empathetic because think about it. You're creating something for complete strangers. You don't know each other. How are they going to trust you to, take care of the seeds that's growing in your belly? And so altruism is really the primary thing that we look for when we look for surrogate candidates.
Absolutely. And how long have you been in this industry? When did Patriot start?
We started back in 2018, so it's been a heck of a ride. And of course, and the U.S. have a very unique position. Have a very mature commercial surrogacy laws, but other countries doesn't have the same luck. But the reason I mentioned pandemic is when everything shut down because the number of international patients that we have, you couldn't do surrogacy in France, Italy. They flew to the U.S. Everything had to stop. But, we're fortunate. We're resilient. We bounced back from the pandemic shutdown. We've been growing at a very healthy rate. And we just recently made the Inc. 5000 list and the Chamber of Commerce. There's other lists that we made that's just like been celebrating the milestone, but also disrupting the existing technology landscape too.
Absolutely. That is, well, congratulations on all those accolades. That's so exciting. Describe to us a little bit, what does Patriot Conceptions do? If I'm interested in surrogacy and I don't really know anything about it, how would you illuminate me to Patriot's journey and that?
First of all, it's a very customized and personalized journey, because you got to think about when we first talk to you, we need to understand it's a very personalized business. What are your needs? What type of person you are? What's your sex origin? Are you single parent by choice? Are you LGBTQ? Heterosexual couples struggle from infertility. Do you have a military background? What financial coverage you have? So there's a lot that goes into that. So, and each road is very different. So what we offer first, that's very important part of it, the understanding your personal journey, your fertility needs, and to figure out the existing resources that can help you for your specific backgrounds. And then even though it's a very small space, the number of fertility doctors, but they specialize in different things. Some specialize in egg donation surrogacy, some just specialize in and not everybody is familiar with the surrogacy and the egg donation protocols. So that's why we need to talk to you. And some doctors are more LGBTQ experienced, some is more single parent experienced. And so it's is that question depends really how your background is.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you feel that your perspective, being a veteran-owned company, affects your perspective on the industry?
Well, there's a lot of similarity because being a veteran in the public service in general, one of the characters is selfless service. It's always service first. Then we talk about the profits, the margin, the revenue. So being a veteran doesn't allow me not to steer away from the primary motive is to help individuals, a couple who really wants to achieve their parenthood dreams. And that selfless service attitude is really instilled in every single part of our organizations. And being resilient, because a lot of things can happen throughout the surrogacy journeys. Miscarriages happen sometimes due to genetic anomaly, and parents might choose to terminate. And usually it's before certain weeks, of course. Then embryo might not stick. So there's a lot of tears. There are lots of joys, but there are also lots of tears. So being resilient and also to ride along with the parents on that emotional roller coasters are very important to us. And so being resilient and selfless service, those are all good qualities that we carry from a military and veteran background.
You mentioned selflessness a lot, and that just comes up so much in these conversations. I think too, the people that you hire, your team, obviously that matters in any industry. And I feel like in an industry like this or anything that's healthcare adjacent, people part matters so much.
That's what we look for when we onboard a new employee. We look through their resume, community service. A a lot of our current employees, they had a community service experience, or they are still doing volunteering works. We had someone who go to animal shelters on the weekend in their spare time, and we had someone who took care of the kids who are autistic. So yeah, those are something we look for, and we regard it very importantly.
And kind of going along with that, when you think about growth and the trajectory that Patriot's taken, what are some, or maybe an example of a pivotal moment or decision that you really feel like has impacted the long-term trajectory?
We always try to be the adapt in terms of technology, especially now AI become a buzzword. Before that happened, we feel like this is a very personalized journey or service, but a healthy blend of human and automation is very important to help you eliminate the human errors. For example, one of the challenges surrogate facing is how they do their injectable medication. There's so many to remember. I got to take progesterone, baby aspirin, at what interval. Um, and in this specific example, we know the user habits. It doesn't make sense for them to log into something or their computer phone to click to receive the reminder. Sometimes text message is the best. So we work with Twilio. We design a programmable text message system where they receive all their instructions. They simply reply, yes, no, I didn't take it, or I need more help. Our case managers then the message get routed to our case manager, then they would help them out. Using this specific example, we understand that parents still want to hear human voice from our case manager, right? or the surrogate, especially when they deal with the needles, when they deal with a lot of good and bad news. But we have automation, we have technology to help us eliminate human errors, and also make our work very productive. And so we continue to develop to discover new opportunity to streamline the process with automation, with AI now. We recently started to train video avatars of our case journey managers. So for example, surrogate, when they first apply, we want to know they are very altruistic, but we also want them to, when they fill out after they fill out the application, we want to give them send them a greetings. As soon as they submit their application, I want to feel like it's warm. It's personal journey. It's very personal. It's a very, very personal thing. But of course, then when you have hundreds of applicants, it's just not practical for you to record hundreds of videos. But we're working with a YC-backed startup to create avatar. Then, based on the input of their application, hi, this is such and such. I welcome you to Patriot Conceptions family, and thank you for become a surrogate. I learned your personal story, underscore, where we put in the information and use large language model to generate that script. Then the surrogate immediately feel connected, and of course later on they will still get a call from the same person that we made the avatars from.
Wow.
Yeah. So with technology and innovative solutions, I feel like we will continue to scale. We feel like as long as you have a right decision maker, technologies and innovation only do good for your specific niche or industry.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that mentality piece of it, I think, gets lost in the buzz, honestly, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. You mentioned intention and the right people. How do you balance that ethical consideration? This is reproductive health. What's your kind of mindset or mentality around that?
I feel like people should be able to choose how you want to create your families. There are many, many opposing voices. They're not the biological mother. You lost the bond. But you think about it nowadays as our work. We look 50 years or like half a century ago, women doesn't have the role as they are today. Now we can extend the same rhetoric. Women doesn't, the mom, the same what they claim in their saying. Mom doesn't supposed to stay home and stay with their kids all day to give them the motherly education. I feel like there are people who, the society is evolving. People are becoming independent. People want to progress and design the life that they desire. I think they should afford the opportunity to do so. It's not really for anybody to come in to criticize. This is the way to go. I simply think that that's just not a really good way. And also for special populations, a gay couple, how were they ever going to have a uterus to carry a child? So they need to borrow a uterus. In other words, surrogate. Although they need a human egg to make up the other half of human genetics. And we have single parent by choice. Maybe they've been working on a business, or they work they work their career the entire life. They simply didn't have time to find a boyfriend. Eventually, what marriage leads to traditional baby creation. They should afford the same opportunity. I can either a man or woman, I can buy sperm or eggs. I want to create my own. So I think people should afford the opportunity. And another thing I feel like the international society is criticizing about surrogacy is because how in other part of the world, surrogacy is equivalent to exploitation. In some less developed countries where surrogate doesn't have individual freedom, when they started to surrogate for rich families, they get pretty much caged in a apartment complex. It doesn't happen in the U.S. We have a very mature, commercial surrogacy law. They probably have a full-time job, or they stay-at-home mom. They have all their individual freedoms. We don't get to control anything they do, even though they have a legal contract to say you don't do anything to harm your baby. But they work, like I say, my first encounter with a surrogate was with a military spouse, and they absolutely have all the freedom and the benefits of living in on post housing, and enjoyed all the MWR programs. So
It's about mindset, and I also feel like it's just a lot about awareness. People don't know about surrogacy, and this is a industry that I think is really easy to speculate on if you don't have that education or you don't know somebody personally who's done it.
we see more, one of the ways society found out about surrogacy or through celebrities. We've seen the CNN news anchor Anderson Cooper, or the tech giants like Elon Musk, or within the same PayPal gang, what they call it, Peter Thiel. So people use surrogacy for different reasons. Of course, then you have that side of the spectrum where celebrities. But Peter Thiel is openly gay, so he has to use a surrogate. But Elon Musk is somebody who's have the means, and he decided that this is something he wants to do. But then we heard other celebrity news where they open up their, like Kim Kardashian, open up their surrogacy stories. So that's one of the reason the surrogacy news. You see more and more surrogacy news, surrogacy related news on TV shows or on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's, slowly becoming part of our everyday culture, something that is much more normalized. And yeah, I considered that, but celebrity culture has put surrogacy on the map for a lot of people. There's probably a good chunk of people that just assumed that there wasn't other options for people of different identities that aren't, in traditional straight relationships.
Yeah.
Kind of sticking on that a little bit, when you think about news in terms of what's going on in the surrogacy world, new technology news, or maybe even like diverse opinions, where do you go for that? And how do you kind of balance that with your own ideologies and, role as CEO?
News in the surrogacy world, like I mentioned before, the United Nations and Pope Francis started to criticize. There's something bad. Sometimes, you have a piece of positive news that started to push more awareness. All of a sudden you get much busier. Also, another part of the job is to address, for example, Pope Francis. He doesn't know, commercial surrogacy law that well. So he started to openly criticize, because what on the back of his mind is the scene that I described. A bunch of women doesn't have a freedom, live in an apartment complex, exploitation. That's almost equivalent to the word surrogacy. And so handle that in terms of dealing with the news as, the founder CEO. I feel like that's just, one is how to spot the opportunities. When someone like Anderson Cooper announced on, CNN primetime news, I just gain it from surrogacy. How are we going to take advantage of that? Marketing team, this is in the next 2 hours, stop everything else. We're going to focus on Anderson Cooper. Same thing with Pope, Francis. How are we going to address our audiences, especially we do have lots of Catholic surrogates. How are we gonna address their concern? How are we gonna come up with a press release to to address the legality in the U.S. and how they have their individual freedom as opposed to what Pope Francis said. So how you see those opportunities. Because I remember, and a good example is when I was a month ago, I was in that. This is a different piece of news. It's not surrogacy related. I happened to get stuck in Nashville Airport when the cross event happened. That's a big piece of news. When I went to try to get a coffee at the airport, I was tired. But then it started to see on my social media feed the same coffee chain that says enter the code CrowdStrike, you get 50% off your next coffee. So I feel like so how a business owner or the leadership respond to this news, take advantage of it. There's always a way for you to you got to really stay up to date and take advantage of all the resources and the news that come out real time.
Yeah, right. How can you spin it to work for you? Yeah, that's really interesting. And I feel like too, this is not going to hit like mainstream news, but this is a rapidly changing industry. There's a lot of movement all the time, even just in, our little bubble here in the US. It varies state by state. It varies, person to person. How do you kind of balance those changes across just, what we experience here in the US?
Overall, the news surrogacy laws is actually more positive. Washington legalized surrogacy in 2019. State of Washington and state of New York did so in 2021, and Michigan became the newest state that legalized gestational surrogacy. And but then in the other parts of the world, you heard how Italy pushed more harsh punishment for people who do surrogacy. You have the papal leadership don't like the concepts. What we see and what I predict is really just going to be more international customers that will come in that will the United States, and because of all the surrounding surrogacy in other parts of the world. Also in countries like China, the second biggest economy in the world, the surrogacy is not legal either. So we have then they just started to to impose more harsh punishment on surrogates, commercial offenders too. So yeah, really those are opportunities for us because we understand this is eventually it's very altruistic action. We don't feel bad about conducting this business, and if more customers are going to come to the U.S., we're ready to take on them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think especially since even 2020 and the pandemic and the bubble of travel that's exploded after then, people who maybe didn't consider traveling that much after the pandemic are now like going on worldwide tours. Yeah, that completely makes sense. How do you think, or how are you kind of preparing Patriot for that in the future, however far out you see it?
Well, surrogacy is going to stay here for a long time. The way I see it, despite the AI talk, how especially now you heard the news like artificial womb. It's talking about they're going to eventually they want to develop that. But a quick example I want to use is like back in somewhere around 2000, they come up with technology, mitochondrial replacement therapy, where if a woman's egg's too old, they can replace the nuclei of that the egg with young women's egg nuclei. That opens up opportunities to be like, you're still going to be a third related to, but ethically it's just too challenging. How are we going to, who's this human? You have two different genomes. So we actually prohibit the development of, mitochondrial replacement therapy back in 2005. So artificial womb, it sounds great. Come out yet? It's probably in the next decades or so. We might because of the AI development, but the way I see it, the legislative part of it is not going to catch up as fast. So how I feel surrogacy can stay here for a long term, despite the ethical challenge, but simply because other technology have even more challenges. And legislatively, the first IVF babies born, 1978, Louise Brown in the UK, and the state of New York just legalized surrogacy. Well, the first surrogacy baby was somewhere around 1985, but state of New York just legalized, well, state of Michigan just legalized this year. That's how long it takes for the legislative work to catch up. We want to develop more protocols. This is more of a passion project. I want other ones because, not everybody can afford a surrogacy agency process, agency service. I wanted for intended parents to conduct, background check, criminal background checks, medical, in general, surrogacy screening on their own. Just so if they happen to know someone, they just want to make sure they have a smooth journey. They have the resources. So that might be some passion to work on in addition to serving my existing customers. And overall, I just really want to modernize this, this part of the business and make things more affordable, more transparent. Especially, we have military and veteran customers, but seeing how expensive this process is, I also want to look for ways to lower the cost for them, really for every customer, not just, and LGBTQ community, and, they go through more struggle. And for gay couples, not only do they need to pay a surrogate, they need to have to pay an egg donor, and they can't go to every single clinic because they might receive discrimination. So we want to provide more resources, guides for, different demographics, how they can best customize their fertility journey.
Yeah. And I think too, just a broad look at healthcare in general, but I think also especially in the surrogacy agency, I don't know if that human element will ever not be required, or at least not be a preference by somebody. As far as technology can go, I feel like that human connection just is so important. And I think in this specific industry and example, even more so.
Absolutely. Yeah, nobody want to, especially we feel excited because our final deliverable will be a newborn baby. Or you think of the joy or tears, the burst of tears from from the parents who struggle from infertility for years. That's really our final product, and it's no better way to deliver that news, via phone call or in person. I mean, you can really have a AI to say congratulations. And parents also want to feel safer when they get our calls instead of, text message or automated email. So that's always going to stay there. Use technology to complement, to eliminate human errors if you forget to make that phone call or appointment reminder.
Yeah, totally. It's a balance. It's how do you free up time to do the things that you need to do, and eliminating tedious things that just take up your time.
Yeah.
Kind of rounding out our conversation here, talked a little bit about your experience in the military at the beginning, but how do you feel like that mentality, or the mentality that you had as a specialist in the Army, influences your work today?
No, we talk about, resilience. We talk about, the attitude of selfless service. And lastly, sometimes I think it's still the biggest thing is still resilience, because, think about it. We talk about bad news or good news, not to be affected. So like you have to, if I may quote, like you have to stand at the position of attention all the time. You can't be relaxed. You can't be wiggle around. It's like it's a bad news for you to deliver. You gotta deliver the bad news. You gotta deliver the good news, or it's because as a facilitator, that's who we really are, between the parents, surrogates, donors, doctors, lawyers, psychologists. We need to stay neutral. We can be affected. Sometimes the reason why military or veteran experience is very relevant. It's just like how you gonna stay neutral, how you not gonna get affected emotionally, or we call it military bearing. Miscarriage happened. Not gonna see my tears. Or when we congratulated a couple, well, we have 10 more couples to deal with, and on the same day, I see a little grain of joy on my face, and just turn around do our other work. So That's the very healthy attitude. Like it can be seen as a little inhuman, but eventually we have work to do. So I feel like that would definitely help. The service, how you take care. Another thing is like sometimes I put stock very hard at the beginning, because in the military or as a veteran, the camaraderie is very on a very different level. We had friends. We want to take care not just them, their family. We want to get to them. Wait, what do you do this weekend? And be safe. You're gonna go on a hiking trip. Make sure you take a battle body, or and that can be seen as a violation of privacy in nowadays. So it's like, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go for a lesson this weekend. It has nothing to do with you. You don't have to tell me you're gonna, the safety precautions, all the different things. But I guess it allows you to instill that spirit, despite sometimes they feel they're hey Mike, but then they pass along the same spirit to serve the customer. You want them, and they will that same spirit to the surrogate. I want what you and your husbands are doing. Doing something healthy. And parents need to know those information too. Make sure you eat healthy, live healthy, have a good lifestyle, etc.
So touching a little bit on the surrogacy experience, you have a lot of perspective as a CEO, obviously. How do you feel about compensation, either from the surrogacy side or whatever angle you want to go at it from?
It's absolutely okay to get paid. For anybody who listens, think, of course, surrogacy, the action itself is very altruistic. It's all about compassion, helping other individuals, the couple, to complete their families. But military gets paid, police gets paid, firefighter gets paid, even though they feel like there's a higher calling there. In the Army, they talk about honor duty country. They didn't say we get paid first, then we're gonna go fight a war. But getting paid is essential. Nobody's gonna get starved. They need to take care of their family. So our surrogates is 9 months, a very tough job. And to anybody who's ever been pregnant before, it's not easy. So it's okay to ask for fair compensation, and it's absolutely okay to get paid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like you're selfless, but how do you be selfless without negatively impacting yourself or giving up part of yourself that would harm you?
Absolutely. All right.
Well, as we wrap up today, is there anything else you want to share with our audience? Prospective surrogates, prospective parents, anybody else kind of surrounding this world from your perspective as the founder and CEO of Patriot Conceptions?
I like to be open-minded, and I just want to thank everybody whoever, for our prospective surrogate, whoever thought about helping a individual couple. Just think of us for the single parent by choice, a person who belonged to LGBT community, who could, who never dream about having a child, or interest, even the thought of it, make their dream closer. And for parents, don't feel shy or don't feel ashamed about your infertility issue. The first step of solving it is to recognize there is a problem, and there are many, many resources out there that you can utilize. Book a consultation with a doctor. A lot of the doctors offer consultation for free. There are a lot of fertility coaches out there to help you guide you through your journey. There's dedicated LGBTQ community to help you with your infertility needs. And there's so many resources. For example, there's the Bob Woodrow Foundation, who helps veterans or active duty members who otherwise couldn't qualify for surrogates. They're out there, and we're happy to offer our piece of advice and help if you reach out to us. So thank everybody, and we're here to make family complete, to make the parenthood dream come true. So welcome everybody for your opinion and your input.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Bai. There is like a million rabbit holes that we could go down and everything we talked about today. So we'll definitely have to do a couple more episodes in the future, diving into more specific topics. But thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, CJ. Aloha.